That would have been about 94, 95 that we first put it together. I was one of the people involved in that, although I can't claim all the credit. Nat Talkington up at the university had a bit to do with it. The basic deal was that I was in the Ministry of Commerce, as then was, became the Ministry of Economic Development later. So as part of the New Zealand government, we had a very sympathetic minister, a man named Maurice Williamson, who also realised just how huge the internet was going to be. He was behind us. My boss was behind me. And essentially what I did though, the problem here was that how could I ever go to the IT department of a government department and say, I want a web server? And this is back like in the early to the mid-90s. I mean, you could imagine how hard that would have been. So I didn't even attempt that. What I did was this deal with Nat Talkington up at the university. And of course, up at the university, they could just throw a web server up. In fact, they already had several. They were playing with it. They thought it was marvellous. They understood the technology. I kind of figured out how to get documents out of government departments. So I did the deal with Nat. I put up the web server. I ended up writing quite a lot of the early material on it. There wasn't really a proper explanation of, say, the MMP electoral system that was just coming in, or even our constitution. So quite a lot of that I just wrote. I got a proper version of the Treaty of Waitangi together with a scholarly modern translation of the Maori version, and we put that up there as well. And then I started hawking around to all these government departments, other departments apart from the one I was working in. And I'd invite their communications people in, and I spent a bit of my boss's budget on buying them wine and cheese. And I had this enormous data projector. I remember I bought this thing, it cost 17 grand. It was the size of a suitcase, and it projected VGA up on the wall. And I would show them, look, this is what a web server looks like. This is what's out there. And of course, by today's standards, it looked horrible. It was like grey on grey and those horrible layered tables and all that. It just looked terrible, but it was amazing by then. And most government departments, I went to them and I said, look, guys, what I really need from you is information that I can publish. Don't worry too much about what it is, just chuck it at me. I'll take your annual reports, I'll take policy, I'll take anything you've got, anything that anybody somewhere might find even remotely interesting. And by the way, if you could flick me a bit of cash as well, that'd be really handy, because I was trying to run this thing on nothing. I didn't have a budget. So I would extract $1,000 here or there from odd departments, and I used that to pay a student to cut HTML to keep the site going. So, and that was actually, it was exciting times, and you can get away with a lot that today you probably wouldn't have regarded as all that professional, but back in those days, because it was so new, we could do it. And most government departments were really keen. The pitch I gave them was, please give me a little bit of money, but even if you can't, give me documents. The most important thing is just give me information that I can publish. And as the 90s wore on, government departments got increasingly keen, and then some of them started running their own servers. And then after a while, it really became clear that it wasn't sort of core business for the ministry I was in, and the thing went off to the Department of Internal Affairs.